Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to get into a topic that I may have gotten into before, but if I did, then there's nothing wrong with reiterating it, and if I didn't, then I'm glad to be able to bring it to you. And that is on the topic of relationships, compatibility versus compromise. Now, just diving straight into it, a lot of people sometimes think that a relationship is about compromise. They'll say it all the time. Relationship is about compromise. It's about, you getting with someone and doing this and doing that for them and you guys meeting each other halfway. I want to tell you a couple problems with that. And why I'm going to tell you that it's actually not a relationship is not about compromise, it's about compatibility. And actually all the many strange ways that can reflect in when I say compatibility. So first off, compromise, um, one of the main issues with it coming into a relationship like that is that if two people are almost completely opposite or they just got a lot of things about themselves that don't match up, what happens is you might have one person, like two people who are like 50% compatible, and now they're trying to compromise the other 50%. And that's a problem because at that point, you're literally trying to change the person who they are with the hopes that you guys can end up having something that works out. But it's crazy because what happens is that one person or both of you feel like this person's trying to change me. I'm unhappy, and for that relationship to be 100% working, it means both people have to be 50% unhappy. So it's crazy. And then you're just going through the motions of an unhappy relationship. The other part to the compromise concept is most people are not even compromising equally. So you don't even have it where you have, say, if two people are whatever it might be, only 50% compatible, you might have one person who's like, well, I'm demanding more 60% of it in my favor, and you're getting 40% in your favor, and I'm not compromising as much. So most people are not even trying to bring compromise to the table in the way that they like to make it sound. You have a lot of people sometimes relationships who will be like, well, relationships about compromise. It's about compromise, and we got to compromise, and that's how it goes. You got to know how to compromise. But sometimes the same people who are saying that to you are not looking to compromise at all. They're just looking to say that so you'll compromise. And so that's part of the problem with a compromising relationship is that not everyone's even being honest to what they're even trying to bring to the table and how much they're even trying to compromise, let alone you'll find that you're sometimes compromising way too much to the point where you're not even happy. You're changing who you are. Now, with compatibility, it's different. You're keeping to what makes you you, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you're 90% compatible, then you're only compromising like 10%. So the idea is to be compatible and you stick with that. I know sometimes you don't like it because you might say, this person over here, I want them so bad. I like them, I'm attracted to them, this and that. But there's so many things about them that doesn't work. Maybe I can make it work. You can't make it work. One thing I think people need to learn in this day and age is that more so now than ever before, where maybe back in the days people had a sense of duty to be a certain way. A man had a sense of duty to be the way he is, and do the right thing, take care of his family, take care of his woman, keep the home the way it needs to be structured. Back in the days, a woman had the mentality like, I'm going to make sure I take care of my man. I give him back rubs. I cook for him. I make sure he's feeling good. I'm not trying to spend his check all the time. I'm making sure that he sorted out all the bills first, and whatever's left, we can spend that. If there's not anything left, he tells me there's no budget. There's no budget to spend. I'm taking care of, the household. I'm making sure while the woman takes care of the inside of the household, the man takes care of the outside of the household. And there was this dynamic, you know what I mean? Those duties that came into place that said, I have to fulfill these duties. And I hear some people always say nowadays, no one needs to have a role, or, why is there got to be these roles, or, why is there got to be these duties? What if no one wants to do that? That's fine. But the problem with that is when you have no structure, a lot of things fall apart. And in addition to that, um, you sometimes have, you sometimes often will have where someone is expecting a certain duty of one of their partner or a certain role for the other person and they don't want to play their role themselves. So now it makes it even worse because it's one thing to say, we all shouldn't have roles, but it's another thing to say you should have a role and I shouldn't have a role. So that goal goes into compatibility when it comes to, and I'm not saying whether something's wrong or right. What I'm saying is that compatibility, you got to know how that other person is. If they don't believe in the same values you do, in the same roles you do, then that doesn't work. And you shouldn't be getting with someone like that because it's just going to fall apart and trying to compromise the rest of it's just not going to work. So compatibility is more important than compromise. And I think that should be at the forefront. And a person should be about 90% compatible. It can be found out there, but a lot of people don't try to look hard enough because a lot of people always want what looks shiny on the outside. But then the second part of compatibility, where I said that there's some strange or extreme aspects of it, is that sometimes people will get in other people's ear to say what compatibility should look like. So, say if you are a type of person, I'm going to use this example, and I'll use another example for a man as well. Say if, but I'm going to use this example for a female. Say if there's a woman and she's the type who she's very submissive, she likes, doing things for a man, she likes taking care of him. And in her mindset, she says, if I find the right guy, not everyone's going to be the right guy. She's got to know the difference. If the guy's the wrong guy, obviously, I leave them. I don't be bad to them. I don't say I'm going to take away my submissiveness in terms of now I'm going to be mean to them. You just simply leave them and that's it. But that person might say, I want to stay true to the person I am. I want to be submissive. That's how I want to be. And submissive is not a bad role. I've said that in a past video. It means something different than what people think it means. It doesn't mean slave. But they might say, I want to be submissive. I want to hold my man up high. I want to treat him this certain way. I want to, take care of him. All these things that make him feel good so he could be the best man he can be, which in turn allows him to um build this kingdom, this household the best he can because I have his back and I'm supporting him. And some people will say to that person sometimes, why do you want to be that way? You shouldn't want to be that way, and this and that. Not realizing that sometimes certain people, they want that. They want these things. They don't want to try to be the dominant one. And while others might go, I can't fathom why you don't want to be that. Some people understand. I don't want the weight and the pressure of that because trying to be the dominant one means there are certain duties that come along with that, generally speaking, and they don't want that. Which is the same reason why some people in the work industry might say, "I don't want to be a supervisor because I know all the responsibilities that come with it. I'd rather be the worker," and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just understanding who you are. And then, so the same thing for men. Some people might say, well, okay, that man is obviously he shouldn't do this for anybody who is not going to appreciate it and he gets what he wants out of it as well. But there's some men who are going to say, like, yeah, I do want to control the household. I want to be the guy who's spending money. I want to do this. I want to do that for my lady, this and that, whatever the case is. And some guys will say, well, why you want to do that? That's crazy, like, especially in these times. And I get it. But then that person shouldn't stop being that way for the person he's with. He should just I mean, he shouldn't stop being that way. He should just not be with that person because he's obviously not compatible with that person. Maybe he needs someone who will let him, kind of rule his domain. Vice versa, you may have some women who say, I want a guy who's going to be submissive. I want that guy who's going to do what I tell him. And she will be compatible with the man who says, I want a woman who's going to do whatever, who's going to tell me all the things of what to do. And, I won't be the guy who makes decisions. I won't be the guy who's the protector. I won't be the guy who's any of those things. I'll just be the guy who pretty much replacing what the woman's role used to be and the woman replacing the man's role. Some people might be okay with that and want that. But then you have to be honest in saying if that's what you want, know that, you know, that person, if you switched roles like that, those kind of general roles that people have, as the woman, if you want to switch that role and be that role, you're going to now have to be the protector. You can't say, well, I want control, but I don't want to be the protector. Because what happens is nobody is going to be everything you want them to be. You got to know what you're looking for and you got to grab someone who is that exact thing. But you have to also understand too, certain qualities don't exist without other qualities. So I'm going to give you an example of that. If someone is aggressive and they're the aggressive type and you're one of those people, whether you're a girl or you're a guy, and you say, I like the qualities of someone being aggressive and strong and super dominant. But like not just dominant in terms of confidence in who they know they are, but I mean dominance in terms of, they'll come into a room and they're like almost straight up bullying people, like, yeah, like, get out of my way, and blah blah. You like, I'm taking over the conversation, just very dominant. A lot of people don't like that quality, but some people like that in a mate because they think it needs strength. That's fine if that's your thing, but you have to understand those qualities directly come with negatives, and you can't separate the two. So when you're trying to understand compatibility, you have to understand how that works. I've seen times where men do stuff like this sometimes in the reverse aspect of, if they think a girl looks cute and nice and sweet, that she's gonna be sweet, and sometimes that doesn't always go hand in hand, because one thing you should know that comes with the fact of getting a lot of attention is not necessarily being a super sweet person. The same way that and usually, if you don't get a lot of attention, you sometimes are a sweet and down to earth person because you're not getting attention. The same way it works for men, when if they're ultra aggressive and angry and running around ultra tough, they're going to also be angry and tough with their woman. It doesn't get separated. You don't separate the two. And a lot of people don't understand that. So when trying to understand compatibility, you have to understand that part. So going back to the example I just said with the man, um, a guy who's like that, a woman might say, I want a guy like that because he's strong. He's going to probably abuse you and turn you and put you down and whatnot. And that, it's not a thing where it's like, oh, well, why is he like that? Why is he being mean to me? He's like that with everybody. You don't get a pass from that, but you have to understand that's how compatibility works. So part of compatibility also as a strength to understanding a relationship is knowing what someone really is and not just what you think that they are on the surface. But anyway, I digress because, like I said, the point of this topic was compatibility versus compromise. And I strongly believe compatibility is the way that relationship dynamics should be based on and not compromise. So when you hear people always saying relationships about compromise, in my opinion, it's not. And compromise is the bane of all relationships. And I don't say that to say you don't have a little bit of compromise, but it shouldn't be based on compromise. A relationship should not be based on two opposites coming together and trying to change each other to make it work. And essentially, when you're compromising 50% of yourself, that's called change. That's not called compromise. You're changing the other person. So, with that being said, understand that difference, and put in the comments below whether you agree with this, you disagree, you've seen examples of this, you've seen things the opposite of it where people try to compromise too much and it doesn't work. Whatever your thoughts are, you guys stay safe out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.